I have a huge problem with my hands. Over the last 550 days, I've been making an animated feature film. It's in like an hour and 40 minutes long, but I never went into who this movie is actually about and why I care about it so much. So the year is 1985, and Betty Fleetfoot is 3 years old. This is an interesting sequence. But before we can get to that, this movie is called Betty Fleetfoot. It's once again my animated feature film. In this video, I'm going to tell you all about the main character, Betty Fleetfoot. I'm going to give you some details about her character. So first of all, she's introverted. Then at the same time, she secretly loves adventures. Some backstory, what's her destiny, what's her thing in life, and it'll be a lot of fun. And last but definitely not least, I'll give you guys the premise of the movie. That's actually a new scene that I recently added. Let's go ahead and get back to that backstory I was trying to tell you about. What ends up happening is Henry and Lauren, Betty's parents, are letting Betty pick out a gift. Instead of picking out the doll that she normally would want, she picks out a small horse. She's 3 years old. To understand this sequence better, we have to go further back in history. You see, Fleetfoots have been racing horses for generations, and they had always been the best of the best. That is, until the Daubers showed up. The Dauber family came out of nowhere and produced the ultimate racehorse. We're talking about the fastest of the fastest, the best of the best. Before we get into the conflict and how everything goes downhill and what actually makes this movie possible, Henry, Betty's dad, again, would still be racing horses if this one thing hadn't happened. There's an absolutely tragic accident that involves Lauren's older brother, Spud Dauber. He's the antagonist of the movie, actually. The actual movie is set years later, and during that time, she feels the emanating need to live up to her last name, Fleetfoot, which used to mean something. She's afraid that she will not be appreciated and loved. Betty needs to try to find her identity, which is why she's a pushover, which is why she doesn't really know what she wants. What's her destiny? What's her thing in life? I am actually feeling a lot of these things as I'm kind of going through this journey, making this film. I'm finding myself relating more and more and more. For example, making videos. I love making videos. I love making movies. I love telling stories. But is this what I'm made to do? Okay, and I don't think I've emphasized this enough. In this universe, in this world, instead of big things are like football or soccer or baseball or something, everyone is into horse racing. Later on, this is really important for Betty because she will want to carry on this family legacy. But the Fleetfoots were at the top of that game. But when this accident happened, Henry, he basically vows to never race again. Spud, on the other hand, he kind of goes down his own path. He ends up basically wasting the next 20 years of his life. Oh yes, okay, this is actually really fun here. Something that triggers Betty is unfair bias. Now, look, I'll be really honest, I don't like conflict. I avoid conflict basically at all costs. Betty, this is actually affecting how I write also. I don't like having her in conflict. So I had a very hard time having her be an active hero. The other characters were leading the movie. The main character, the hero, has to be able to take those steps. There's a very specific scene where this happens, where Betty stands up for actually her uncle. She's been pushed to the point where she's forced to do this almost. And if you guys stick around to the very end of the video, I have some fun facts about Betty Fleetfoot that you guys might find interesting. Just like literally some random fun facts, so stick around. Another character trait is her quietness almost hurts people. She'll just go along with the flow sort of, and she won't stand up for like what she is actually wanting. For example, she's been taking guitar lessons for years and years. Let's see, yeah, on the whiteboard. Yes, she took guitar lessons. It was okay, but someone was always better than her, and so she hated it. She definitely does not like uncertainty. That's part of what holds her back. You want a fear, desire, and a misbelief. Her misbelief is that she needs approval. She thinks, I need approval. And if I do not get approval, I am not going to be happy. My family is not going to be happy with me, and therefore I shall basically curl up in a ball and die. And this is a very, very small but very important thing that she believes. And that has to change. She has to learn that she doesn't need approval. I need to do the same thing, actually. Which is why, once again, I find this character really relatable. Well, okay, I'll give you a little hint here, okay? There's this in the opening setup scenes, there's a scene where Betty is on Spud's land looking at the horses. She's like, man, only if I had a horse, kind of. But the horses are just, there's no way they could afford a horse at this point. When her dad catches her there, oh, he's livid. Why? Because of all that. Remember that backstory, how there was that big accident? Henry and Spud, don't get along, and they've not talked for years. To justify it, Betty actually stands up for Spud. She's like, look, you can't just write people off like that. And that's actually a very important plot point for Betty, because that's the moment where she decides to stand up for herself and starts to move forward as the hero. All right, so I did a really bad job explaining the clip that comes next. I try to do this at least for most of my characters. I try to give them a moral outlook, kind of like how they see the world. Everyone, I guarantee you, has some sort of flawed outlook on the world, but there's a resolution to it. Betty must change and be extraordinary to be accepted by people. That's what she thinks deep down. I must change to be better and be extraordinary so that other people can accept me. And even though she has faith in God, it is weak in the beginning of the movie. She prays for her thing. She wants to find her calling, and she thinks she needs. That's important. She thinks she needs to have it figured out. And that's what we set up in the very beginning of the movie. By the end of the movie, the moral resolution is she realizes her family loves her regardless of what she does, regardless of her great accomplishments or her great failures. They're still there for her. That's something I need to get better at realizing. And she realizes by the end of the movie that she doesn't need to have it all figured out. And I think that's kind of a beautiful thing. For a while, I think I didn't think that was true. I've gone through that same arc. A lot of the events in this movie have nothing to do with me. I was like, oh, I have lots of experience riding horses or racing, and I've never touched a horse really. What is still there and very relatable to me is the deeper than what you see, the horse and the external elements of the conflict. It's what's deep down. I feel like that's what's really important. Betty sees the world as needing, in the beginning of the movie, a higher calling. She believes that she has this higher calling because her family name, the Fleetfoots, this history that's just, her family seeped with history. They've been riding horses for generations after generations, and they were the best of the best. Yes, this is a completely different day. I somehow completely forgot to give you guys the premise of the movie. So Betty Fleetfoot is still doing those music lessons. Remember those earlier? How at like 7 years old she started? Well, she's still doing them at 17/18 years old. And so that problem is shown very clearly in the opening scene. Eventually, she gets home and there's a birthday party. It's her 18th birthday party, and it's a surprise birthday party. Earlier, she had her very first conversation with Spud Dauber. Earlier, I explained about that one scene where Betty is caught by her father looking at some horses. That scene led to her father basically telling her, you know what, I've been trying to protect you for years from this person. And he makes her go to his house and apologize. That's actually a new scene that I recently added. I've been working on actually rewriting the script, which is kind of crazy, like day 550 something, and I'm rewriting, but it's where I am right now, for better or for worse. Anyway, let's skip ahead to the inciting incident where at the birthday party, Spud Dauber shows up. Spud basically offers Betty a horse if she can earn it. Once Betty is offered basically a horse, she has to race Spud. She feels like destiny is just built into her blood, and she feels a need for greatness, or she thinks so. By the end of the movie, once again, she realizes what really matters is the family. And before we get to some fun facts about Betty Fleetfoot, which are just kind of random but still fun, I want to give a quick word from our sponsor, me. That's supposed to be funny. If you guys want to see this character brought to life in this movie that I've been working on for the last 550 days, then consider supporting me on my new website, which is basically like a Patreon. Maybe you want to learn alongside me almost as I go through this journey in creating this film, then this is going to be a lot of fun. By joining, you'll be able to learn alongside me with my journey in filmmaking. I'll give you guys my honest thoughts and different things that I don't share on the main channel. You guys get access to exclusive Discord channels, exclusive live streams, project files, discounts to merch, the monthly creative accountability call, which is a new thing, bonus elite vlogs, and a whole bunch of other random things, and credit in the movie whenever I'm done. So if that sounds interesting to you at all, then just check out the website, just check it out. I keep hitting my microphone. See you over there. And if not, it's okay. So some fun random facts about Betty Fleetfoot. Number one, so my sister told me, she was like, you know what, you really should mention how you kind of take a little bit of inspiration from the 2005 Pride and Prejudice Elizabeth Bennet. Why? I don't know. I feel like that's a super duper underrated movie, and something about whoever played that and the way it's portrayed and the way it's shot, I'm like, this is kind of like Betty Fleetfoot. I have no idea why. There's nothing in the movie necessarily directly that correlates to Betty Fleetfoot, but still I'm like, for some reason this kind of reminds me of Betty. So I did base her like face a little bit off of it, but you can't really tell at all because it's like my style is completely different. as you probably have noticed. Everything in this movie is also made out of cubes. That's a totally different thing that I've never mentioned, actually. Interesting. Anyways, fun fact number 2. Well, this story started as a tall tale by my sister, actually, same person I was talking about earlier. It was called The Grand Race. It was like, I don't know, 1 or 2, no, maybe like 3 pages long or something. It went from a tall tale to a short film to this feature film. And I never made the short film, by the way. I just decided to upgrade the short film to this full film. So yeah, that's nice. And I guess a third and final fun fact. Let me think. All right, and last but not least fun fact is that I actually don't have another fun fact. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That's all I could think of. That's all I have for you guys. So thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate it so much. Enjoy the journey and bye-bye. Watch another one. Okay.